Hello, family. My name is Eddie. I'm a child of God Christ, and I'm in recovery for addiction and lust. My first memories, my first memories in life are based around hospitals. I was born with a birth defect called a club foot. My left foot was turned around backwards, and my ankle was misshapen. From the moment that I was born, God was caring for me, although I didn't know it. He led my parents to Scottish Rite Hospital, where the doctors were able to repair the defect. My mother was a godly woman who always saw the best in people, and she's the only reason that I knew anything at all about Jesus. We attended First Christian Church at Forest Park, where I was baptized at 13. My father was the opposite. He was a self employed truck driver who drank too much and only went to church on Easter and Christmas. My mom did her best to create a stable home environment, but it wasn't easy. See, we never knew which man was coming home at night. My dad might come home and love everyone and everything. And then there was the other times. Actually, a lot of time. The violent and abusive guy would show up. And then there was the guy who just wanted to end it all. He would just sit quietly with a pistol in his lap. I think that guy was the worst of all, because we weren't sure if he was going to use it on himself or on someone else. But the violent guy was pretty bad too. There were times when it was so scary that my mom would take my sister and me to a hotel just to keep us away from him. My sister, she was 10 years older than me, and she was the perfect sister. Do you remember how I told you that God had been watching out for me since my life had began? Well, this is one way that I know. I was about 10 years old, and my sister had already moved out, and one of those nights happened. Dad got violent. My mom was forced to leave, but I wasn't allowed to go this time. I was scared, and I waited for him to pass out, and then I headed for my sister's apartment. She lived about 5 miles away. I didn't know it, but my sister wasn't even at home. She was out with friends. She and her friends passed me as I walked down the road in my PJs. The girl driving looked at my sister and said, "Was that your brother?" And they turned around and came back and picked me up. I explained what happened, and then we went to find my mom. And when we found her, it was a huge feeling of relief, and we stayed with my sister for the weekend. God puts people in my life at the exact time that I need them, and that's what CR does for me now. The men in my group, my sponsor, everyone here at CR accepts me just the way I am, and they pray for me. Even if I make mistakes, they still love me. Sometimes my dad was passed out with a lit cigarette in his hand, often actually, and this is how I picked up my smoking habit. See, I'd have to sneak that cigarette out of his hand to keep from burning the house down, but I'd always take a few puffs before I put it out. Pretty soon, I was stealing cigarettes from his pack. Then, I was stealing packs from his carton. We all walked on eggshells in my house for all of my childhood, and this taught me some really unhealthy coping skills and habits that I still struggle with today from time to time. We had to be really careful about what we said and how we said it, even if we had to lie to keep him from going nuts. So I learned how to tell partial truths, just enough of the truth to make the story believable. Just so you know, that doesn't work with God. And it doesn't work with, he already knows the truth. He just wants me to know the truth. It doesn't work here at CR either. If I'm not completely honest, I'm just cheating myself. I learned that the truth is the truth, even if it hurts. I'm still trying to learn how to tell the truth in love, like it says in Ephesians 4:15. Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ. But back to my story. Lying became easy until I couldn't tell truth from lies. I said earlier that I was baptized at 13. What I probably should have said is that I just went under the water, and for about a second, I wanted to follow Jesus. But I had no mentor, no guidance in how to follow Jesus. It was just dunk and figure it out. Not long after that, I was introduced to the drug scene. I found my way to escape from the reality that was my life. And it didn't take me long to become an everyday user. So now I'm 13 years old. I'm a thief, I'm a liar, and I'm a drug addict. Do you remember the guy who came home and loved everybody? Well, he had some negative effects on me as well. He would come home drunk and being able to operate a vehicle. So he would use me as his chauffeur. I was 13 or so when I started driving him around to bars and strip clubs. I would sit in the car and wait while he went into the clubs. On several occasions, I was allowed to go into strip clubs. A 13-year-old kid in that environment can begin to see the world in an unrealistic way. Women became an object to me, and even worse, I believed I was desirable to women. The line between sex and intimacy had become blurred. About this time, I was really hating school. I really, really hated school. So I began to fake an illness to avoid going. And I was good at it. Like I said, I couldn't tell a lie from the truth myself. So it was easy for me to make people believe the lie, because I believed the lie. I'd be walking down the hall, see a teacher or an adult, and I'd just face plant. I even did it on the stairways a couple of times just to make sure it was real. The school told my parents the condition was a safety concern, and I wasn't allowed to return to school until it was under control. For the rest of that year, I was an unsupervised teen with a drug and sex issue. Just for the record, that's a bad combination. When I graduated from school, I immediately left home, vowing never to return. And that's when my life really started going downhill. I spent the next few years jumping in and out of relationships just to have a place to stay, or sleeping on a friend's couch. When I was 18, it began to surface that I might have a problem with drugs when I was arrested for possession with intent to distribute. However, I didn't want to suffer the consequences of my actions, so I set up the dealer that I was working for. As if that wasn't bad enough, the dealer was my family. I ruined the life of someone I cared about just to keep doing what I wanted to do. And that shame still haunts me today. My second arrest came not long after that for aggravated assault and destruction of property. I spent a little time in the Fulton County Jail, and then that went away too. So far, 2 arrests, no convictions, but guilty on all accounts. I met the love of my life when I was 23 years old. Although I thought love meant sex, I knew I cared about this woman. We married before she knew how bad my drug use was, or that I only wanted the instant gratification. And by the time she found out about the drugs, she was pregnant with our daughter. I was in the delivery room when she gave birth. That's when I began to realize that sex and intimacy are 2 very, very different things. I watched her suffer for 16 hours with no pain meds. She showed me what real love looks like. We've been married now for 42 years, and 30 of it, I put her through hell. I used all the bad habits and coping skills I learned growing up to manipulate and control her. I lied to her, I've cheated on her, and still she stayed by me. The only way she stayed is by showing me what God's mercy looks like. All of this explains my life verse. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. Romans 7:18. In 1989, we found a church called Grace Fellowship, later renamed the East Ridge Community Church. I'd like to tell you that my life changed, my ways changed, and when I started attending, but I'd be lying. I did come to know, however, that I needed to change, but I was still unwilling to change. I'd been living in my drug-induced reality for almost 30 years when I made my first trip up the hill to CR in 2002. I attended 101 and left thinking that's not what I need. I can do this on my own. God let me wander around for another 10 years through half-hearted efforts of trying to quit on my own, being mad because I didn't have any dope, and then getting depressed when I did have it and used, feeling like a failure. Just like Paul says in Romans 7:15, I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do, but I do what I hate. It was a vicious cycle that caused my wife more pain than it was causing me. The Hebrews wandered in the desert for 40 years, and here I am at 40 years of drug use. I was like Jonah, didn't want to do what God was showing me that I need to do. However, my well came in a different form. While I absolutely loved my family, I realized that I was cheating them out of the husband and the father that they needed me to be. My relationship with the woman that I loved had grown distant, and there was a wall between me and my children, a wall that I built to keep them from seeing the drug addict that they had as a father. I kept them at arm's length throughout their whole childhood. Now they were becoming young adults, and I didn't have any kind of quality relationship with them. They didn't come to me with their day-to-day stuff. They went to their mother. They didn't trust me to understand when they had an issue. They didn't ask for advice on relationships or even come to me telling me about their relationships, just their mother. It was a wake-up call for me. You know, that what have I done moment? So in 2012, I came up the hill again. I knew that I couldn't quit on my own, and I was desperate for help. My wife was at her end, literally looked at me and said, "Sure, yeah, okay, go ahead." You see, she had heard it all before, and there was absolutely no reason for her to believe that I was going to change. So for the first few months, I attended, and I heard things like, "Don't quit until a miracle happens. One day at a time. Just work the steps." And all that sounded great, but when do I get fixed? I picked up a blue chip about 3 months in, and then I picked up another one 2 weeks later. The old timers in the group tried to tell me how they did it. Things like go to 90 meetings in 90 days. That's a really good start. Read your Bible every day. Pray every day. Write a list of things that you're grateful for. Keep a journal. Change the people that you hang out with. About a month later, I picked up another blue chip. I was still waiting to be fixed. That's when I realized there's more to celebrate recovery than just showing up. It's going to take some work. So I found a sponsor. And the first and probably most important thing that he taught me was how to have a healthy relationship with Jesus Christ and another man. You see, I didn't know how to do either one of those things. I had so much shame in my life that I couldn't believe that God cared about me. As for a relationship with another man, my experience with men growing up left behind some serious trust issues. Plus they weren't as easy to manipulate as women. I started trying to do what I was being told. I joined a step study and tried to get another day. But I crashed and burned at step 4. I got back up. This time I didn't pick up another chip. I recycled one of the ones that I had, and I put it on my key ring just to remind me that I'm a recovering addict. I joined another step study, and I unloaded a bunch of junk that I'd been carrying around. That's when I found my miracle. My wife began to notice a change in me before I did. It gave her a little hope. In 2016, I had a couple of years under my belt. We lost my brother-in-law, and a short time later, my mother and my wife's grandmother passed 4 days apart. Death seemed to be all around us. The old me would have used during this time. But the people God had put in my life and the tools that I picked up here at CR helped me through this time. I gave my testimony for the first time shortly after that, and my sister was in attendance. She had become addicted to prescription painkillers. I didn't know how bad it was until March of 2017 when we found her. We think she had been trying to quit on her own, and that's dangerous. If you or anyone you know struggles with opioid addiction, I beg you, please get professional help. But once again, through all this, my brothers propped me up, and I got through it without using. I felt a sense of accomplishment. It really was a huge victory for me. But something happened to me after that. I became prideful. I thought I had it beat. And then in 2020, when everything shut down, I did the most dangerous thing that I could possibly do. I isolated. I stopped doing the things that I was taught here at CR. I stopped reading the Word. I stopped praying. I stopped calling people. No church service, no CR. For me, meant no sobriety. Relapse is real, and it can happen if I start thinking that I can make it on my own. I got back on my feet late in 2021, and I hope I've learned what it takes to make it this time. I started doing the things that got me clean in the first place. I learned that CR is a lifestyle for me, replacing bad stuff with healthy stuff, changing the way I think through reading the Word and a closer relationship with Jesus Christ, serving where God leads me, and praying. If this is your first time at Celebrate Recovery, please don't let it be your last. We're glad you're here. God led you here for a reason. Please attend Newcomers 101 and find where you need to be. You'll find people here who can and will be with you through thick and thin. I'm living proof that God will do miracles in anyone's life if we let Him. Thanks for letting me share.